What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Let's begin.
Lose! I don't lose! I win! I win! That's my job! That's what I do! There is no tomorrow!
Focus on what you're doing. Get better at what you're doing. Everything else is a complete waste of time.
It's not over until I win!
Hello. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone is doing great. Let's get into Bitcoin. The price analysis on Bitcoin. So we are looking at the weekly chart, and unfortunately, we did not get any daily closes above this previous zone of the last range highs, which was around 67.71. So no daily closes above this, which means the price is now aiming, should I say, or the high probability is that it finds the buyers stepping in around these green box or around these levels essentially. So 54, 55k to 50k essentially. So 50 to 55k is now the range where likely we see a wick or a slow bleed down, should I say, of the price towards those price points, and then hopefully that's where the buyers kind of step in. The indicators, be it the MACD, be it the RSI, absolutely depressed to the levels that you would see price and the market reverse from the bear market zones. So I think we're getting closer. We're getting closer to that reversal move, be it an interim relief rally. We'll see if it really is the relief rally, or you get that final blow off the top, wave 5 kind of a scenario, or is it a relief bear market rally, and then you kind of continue your way back towards these lower price points. We'll see, but I think we're getting closer. You look at the RSI, it literally is at the point where it kind of reversed from the previous bear market zone. So still struggling, no signs of strength on the RSI. It's at 26. So like I said, whether it's one single capitulation move which comes and kisses this green box, or it's again slow bleed down to get to this zone, and what I would look for signs of reversal when the price gets to these levels, hopefully, is a reversal. And when I say reversal, it really is the divergence. So let's take that as an example. So if you look at this zone here, the price made a lower low. So this was back in June of 2022. Price was at about 17,500, and then a few weeks later it made another lower low, which was in the November of 2022, 15k. So that's your lower low. But on the RSI, you can see it formed a higher high right there. So that's the reversal point. That's the indication that the major trend is about to pivot. So something of that nature, to that degree, is what I would be looking for, where the price makes a lower low on a weekly scale and the momentum is kind of going the opposite way. So that's your first kind of primary sign that the trend is likely to reverse, and position yourself for that upward move if you've not done so already. So that's kind of the first things I can see on the chart. No daily closes. Yeah, we formed that 60 that low in a few weeks back on 2nd of February, the week commencing 2nd of February. But given the momentum, there's just no strength, no signs of strength on the price at the minute or at present. So I would go with the probability that it is this zone, which again, if you would have looked at my videos the past couple of months, these drawings have been marked out, and this is the first long bid zone, where we play kind of the range from this range to this. And if then there is strength, you kind of aim for price to go to this zone to see if you get to that relief rally. Okay, so that's kind of the first views on looking at the price at present. Lack of strength in summary. Okay, then RSI is depressed. That's the kind of the primary momentum indicator I look at. Let's bring up the other key indicators that I look at and see what story they are telling. Let's look at Ichimoku first, and let me take off the drawings. Okay, so the Tenkin and Kijun have started to stabilize, or started to gotten flat. So yeah, when that reversal happens, this would be the first this zone here between the Tenkin and the Kijun would be the zone to look for. But yeah, there's just no strength at the minute, so nothing exciting about what the Ichimoku is telling us. The Kumo is bearish. The lagging span, what you call it, right? The Chiku is kind of in a free fall. But yeah, hopefully this zone here, all of this consolidation here should offer support. So it's going to take time. So we'll need to be patient to have the price reverse its trend, and yeah, we just gotta remain patient. Bollinger Band, it's hovering towards the lower end of the Bollinger Band. No strength. What it's telling, it's a continuous downtrend, right? There's no momentum to reverse. The momentum is very hard towards the downtrend, and this lower end of the Bollingers is really flat out down, not even curling, or no kind of pivoting to curl even at this point. So let's see if with time it does that, given the zone that the price is currently on. Okay, and then let's see the momentum. We are right above the 200-week moving average. Again, zone of confluence of the support. Yes, can it wick to the lower end? So the lower end of the 200-week band is about 55k at present. So yeah, 50 to 55k, that's the zone to catch the price and play the bounce, in my humble opinion. Again, to the scenario where we talked about, in the event the relief rally comes, in hindsight, the 50-week moving average and the underside consolidation of the 50-week moving average did turn out to play its part in pushing the price downwards. Again, my bias was at that point, this from a price action standpoint and a market structure standpoint is where it needs to break, which it did eventually. Maybe I was too over optimistic. That's how it kind of goes. That's fine. But yeah, I think the 3 price pivots I had talked about, of which the first would be this zone here, right? So the Kijun, which is currently at about 93k, the 50-week moving average hovering at around 94 to 103k range. So this consolidation and this price block here would be the first kind of immediate target should the relief rally come, which I think it will. But I will not, at this point, I'm not too over optimistic that relief rally kind of goes up to this zone of supply, which is the eventual 108 to 113, which kind of, if I go on a more cleaner chart, Let me take off the Ichi, and your Ichimoku should be, sorry, the Fibonacci. So this zone here, the 0.84, 0.76, and then that kind of marries off with the supply that we've got in that zone. And at the bare minimum, it's this October 10th low, which kind of started all of this, which is on crack and at about 100K. So while this is the optimistic price pivot in terms of where, hopefully, given how depressed the price has been and it's been a continuous downtrend, the relief rally could come in, and this would be brilliant if the price can get to these levels and we, get to short stuff here. Bringing on to the 50-week, the Kijun is sitting around the 50% retracement, so 87K. So more realistic target would be this. Over optimistic target is this, right? So probability wise, take your chips off the table around this zone, say 60, 75, 70 odd percent. And then, if you want to take the bet on risking 30 odd percent to this zone, then brilliant. You can do that. Look, eventually I think it's coming closer towards the zone of reversal. Again, to bring that to a bit more confluence is on this cleaner chart. So this is the monthly view. Let me take off the monthly view. This pivot here, round about 60K, right? Held the price downwards, all of the bear market, consolidation 6 months, new all-time high. So I would be really surprised, even from a probability standpoint, if we just slice through this 6 month of consolidation in the next few weeks, month, without seeing the relief rally. That kind of is my own honest opinion at this point. So a monthly pivot is key, and from a monthly standpoint, this pivot, again, this zone here would make sense as the first target, and by the time the price kind of tries to reverse, we will see the 50-week moving average maybe curling down somewhere here. So let's see. So again, it's not from a price action standpoint, from the supply zone, from the different pivots coming from the monthly standpoint, it's really, we are at a pivotal point where price should hold the support is the point. Okay. Going back onto the monthly, you can see here the RSI is just dreadful, and on the monthly RSI as well, we are at a point where the market reversed from the previous bear market, so it's nearly there. Okay. Weekly RSI just dead. When I say dead, as in dreadful, depressed to the levels of the previous bear market, and think it's all aligning for perhaps, in my view, something similar to what happened back in 2019 in terms of that mini bubble. If people from 2019 remember this was the mini bubble. This led to, let's bring on so this was our capitulation in 2018. This was the relief rally, 344%, putting the fibs on, the highs, the low, kissed the 0.786, came back, COVID, but the relief rally during the summer of 2019, short, very crisp, kind of a mini parabolic pump, if you would, right? So that can happen, or something similar in terms of the nature of move for that relief rally, given just how depressed the price is. I hope that makes sense. So let me go back to the main chart. So that's where we are on the weekly side. On the daily, let's see if we can catch something on the daily in terms of momentum or in terms of strength. The price is just at this point, this zone, it's trying to find support. So towards this daily close, it's now held up this price point, 62, as support. But again, it at this point is not giving the impression that it's a reaccumulation or anything. It's resembling a bear market breakdown or a bear structure breakdown, alluding to the continuation of the primary downtrend effectively. So again, the likelihood is that the price will find its way 50 to 55k zone, and that would be the ideal zone to take the long bid. See this consolidation here? That kind of is what the weekly pivot is. So, and then this low here would be too aggressive in my view if the price was to slice or try and attempt to slice. But we'll see how it goes along, right? But this block here is your pivot point. Let's see where we are. Yeah, just dreadful. Let's do the lighter touch. Yeah, there's nothing there. Well, the Bollinger is trying to get a squeeze. Let's see. It's trying to do a curl, but this lower end of Bollinger is still towards the down trend or the down end of the thing. So nothing convincing from a Bollinger standpoint as well. Ichimoku, yeah, Kijun, Tenkan, Chiku, Kumo, everything is not encouraging on the daily. Same as here. So look, nothing is exciting on the daily side. Maybe we get, again, we'll have to see, right? There's another, that divergence I was talking about, a lower low and a higher high, something of that nature that kind of marks the reversal of the trend. We'll see, but nothing exciting on the daily. So that's where we are with Bitcoin. But I don't think this is the time or this is the moment to kind of take your eyes away or get yourself out of the market. If you wanted to sell, if you wanted to make any profits on your shorts, it should have been at these levels. At this point, if you're selling stuff, you probably are not doing yourself any favors, in my opinion. Looking at the gold to the Bitcoin to gold ratio chart, just devastated, right? Like, this is the capitulation and this is the depression that you want to buy, if I'm honest. So in context, let me bring something. There's the ETH BTC chart. So look at that. Okay. Downtrend, strong downtrend. This is probably where I think. So if someone was looking at this candle, 3-month Ethereum Bitcoin back in early January 2025, last year, they would have just given up their hopes on Ethereum altogether and the alts, right? What happens next? You get to this demand zone, there's a reversal, and the reversal is of about 145%. Now, I think even on the ETH, now that I have the chart open, the ETH BTC chart, look, it's formed its bottom here. This is a 3-month, but as if you would look at the monthly and you would look at the weekly, you can see like that wave pattern, right? 1, 2, 3. Now it's doing like a longer dragged on fourth before the fifth. So what I mean by that is, so on ETH BTC, looks like this was an impulsive move, if that makes sense. So you would be looking for a fifth to come in at some point, right? So if it's an impulsive move, this consolidation here, or the price reaching at these levels, marked the low for Ethereum against Bitcoin, right? So something similar. So what this means in the wider context is that Ethereum and the Ethereum BTC pair is right now in its fourth leg of elite wave, and at some point you would see a fifth. But in the larger context, well, I don't want to talk about the larger context, but then effectively this is just, all of this is effectively wave one, right? So that's on longer period horizon, but in the short interim, this I think is where we are heading on, at least on this chart. So something similar on the gold, the BTC to gold. So I talked about, like, this was my zone from the 3-month pivot, where it was likely that the chart will find its bottom. Putting the fibs on, this is now at 0.786, right? And the 0.84 is in confluence to this block of supply and demand. Nasty candles the last 6 months, right? 3 month, last 6 months have been dreadful for Bitcoin, as gold has really gone into that parabolic expansion across the board, sucking liquidity out of every risk asset. So, okay, look, not giving up on Bitcoin and the crypto is the point, right? These are the levels that you want to get in as a value investor, or as someone who's looking to, you know, hold on to their positions for the next year or so. This year, or from the point that Bitcoin topped last October, last quarter, like the next 6 to 8 months is where you kind of make your positions, consolidate your bags, and be ready for the next cycle so you don't chase stuff. You look at the RSI. This is the 3-month on the RSI for this chart. Capitulation. Don't think there's more evidence needed. Capitulation. It's breaking all the previous levels from where the reversals happen. Like on a weekly, this is just bonkers. It's just bonkers. It's so depressed. Even a small strength that Bitcoin gains against gold should provide a good sizable parabolic kind of a impulsive move to the price of Bitcoin, which is, again, you look at the monthly levels, you look at the weekly levels, where Bitcoin is finding its price to be, the 6 month of consolidation. So I've been going on and on about the same stuff again and again. Hopefully, you know, it all comes to fruition. The patience kind of pays off. So that's the Bitcoin gold chart, really depressed. BTC USD 50 to 55k zone looks more likely, given we did not find any strength on this range block here. Looking at the SPX, yeah, so it's always going to be concerning, the stock market, and well, that's the only caveat, right? That's the only thing that's left which can further bring more depression and perhaps that capitulation move. Just looking, let me bring on the Ichi here. This is the monthly view. What is the weekly saying? Yeah, look, I think I was looking at the, and I definitely recall mentioning this in my last video which I did. So the divergence is a concern. So this divergence kind of played out where we had this move. So this was the last high. So this is where, if we see, or maybe we can take it from here, right? So there's your higher high. Okay. And this point at present, it's like very slight divergence, like equal highs and perhaps a lower high, very light touch lower high. Hopefully people can see it. Right. And then from a broader let's see, there are signs that the market, the SPX is kind of might just roll over, even if it's just towards the 6K levels, which it may. So that's an about 12.3% move down to test that level again. If it does come to that, then we bring on. So yeah, and that kind of will. So this is the monthly, this price pivot to the keychain, which is sitting right under that level, and the 50-month is kind of in this block. So we'll see, maybe there's some further consolidation here before the keychain kind of comes closer to the 6K, and we'll see if at all that happens, as in the market, the SPX rolls over, and then yeah, that's like, again, monthly, 3 months, those are very high time frame pivots, so it takes time for price to play out at those levels and at those time horizons. The more conservative one is the weekly to track on, and at present, let's see if there's any divergence. No, let's see, let me take this off. Yeah, it's kind of is curling, right? There's this curl here. So there's lack in momentum, to be honest. So yeah, I can see the market kind of dipping a bit if there's no sustained. Right now it's just consolidating at this range of sorts. This bit here. Right, it's just consolidating in 67 to touch 7K slightly. This is more realistic. Yeah, 67 to 69. That's the range kind of it's consolidating. Now, whether that's a distribution range or whether that's a reaccumulation range before it breaks that range, time will tell. On the daily, SPX struggling to find its way above the 50-day average, which is again critical. If it gets above the 50-week, the 50-week right now is 68.96, round figure 6,700. So if it gets to above the 50-week, and the Kijun kind of is also in confluence with the 50-day average, so getting above those horizontal pivots from a moving average and Kijun standpoint would be a sign of strength in my view. And the super trend has kind of also flattened out. So effectively what we are saying, this zone here, and you need to get above here, right? So the price needs to get in here, to be able to do that at some point. Oops. So we'll see, right? No one knows. No one has looked at the future. But needless to say, SPX does have a role to play and has its implications to the move it makes, gets reflected in towards Bitcoin. There's a slight divergence of sorts where the stock market has just gone up, and the Bitcoin, the past year or so has just been, well, not necessarily a year, but the last few months have just stayed still and has only moved towards the downside. So that's on SPX. The another interesting bit is, and again, I can't keep stressing on. I think we're closer, guys. If I'm honest, we're closer to some big momentum-based move to reverse the sentiment. You look at the Bitcoin dominance. Looks like it's just ready to roll over. A depressed Bitcoin price, a sideways SPX. The charts are telling it's ready to roll over. Look at the Ichi. Let me bring this one a bit more clearer. Take off the drawing. Oops. The drawings here. Well, if that's not a bearish consolidation under the 50 week and the Kijun and the super trend, then I don't know what and how this will reverse. So time will tell. The RSI is just losing momentum, no strength here as well. So we'll see. It really depends on what move Bitcoin makes, and the distribution of the flow of money from Bitcoin to the rest of the market kind of also is tagged to the fact that Bitcoin makes its reversal, or Bitcoin makes its move towards higher prices for rest of the market to also feel alive. And that makes sense. But yeah, there's a lot of confluence. I think it's just a matter of patience at present, if I'm honest. It's a matter of patience. So don't lose more capital. Try to lose not much capital if you're trying to trade this. Wait for the opportune time, wait for the precise opportunity. And I think the first precise opportunity for the levels which I had marked the last couple of months is now coming closer, which is this zone here. And yeah, let's see. Well, until next time, cheers.